Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. So I know this channel is flooded with videos of Miss Gypsy and Miss Clea and of course Mr. Sully, but today's video is all about a very special lady who makes an appearance now and then, our oldest cattle dog, Miss Silver. So sit back, relax, and snuggle up with your healers and take a trip down memory lane with me as I tell you about this beautiful girl. For starters, Silver is so old we were still using 35mm film when she came into our lives. She was born October 28th, 2005. I first met her when she was around 9 months old. She was about to be 10 months old. And she was my sister's neighbor's dog. And they were fed up with all of her cattle dog ways and decided to put her outside on a leash. And when she started tearing things up out there, they were literally ready to just get rid of her any way possible. So my sister asked me to meet this dog since we were in the process of buying a house. I wanted to research breeds before I committed to anything because I wanted to make sure I got the right dog for me. But my sister insisted on me meeting her. So when I decided to meet her, I saw her from a distance and I immediately thought that's the ugliest dog I've ever seen because I can't see very well far away. But as I approached her, I immediately fell in love. I felt something in my soul that this was my girl, and I'd like to think that she felt the same way that I was her mom. We visited her and walked her as much as we could as we were waiting to close on our house, and my sister even helped make sure she was being taken care of. And she cried and screamed every time I put her back in that yard, and that killed me. Our bond was already there, and the day after we closed on our house and got the keys, we went to go get our baby girl, and I will never forget how she jumped into the back seat on top of a packed car with the biggest smile on her face. She knew she was coming home. She was very eager to please and always wanted to make sure that mommy was happy. She is extremely smart, and for the most part, she was very easy to train. She was a puller on walks, and she didn't want to heel at first, but I would be a puller too if I was that restricted, as she was, not being able to do what cattle dogs do. And she even destroyed things in her house, like my favorite pair of vintage Rockstar boots and other things I liked, but I didn't care. She was my girl. She also hated crate training, and she destroyed anything in her crate. But she eventually picked up very quickly on how to behave in the house when we had to go to work. Whenever I could, I would take her with me everywhere. Friends' houses, running errands, festivals, of course the woods. She did recall and off-leash training like a champ. She has always been very good with other dogs and people, especially kids. I think that was mainly because she was raised with so many. But she also has just a very motherly instinct to her naturally. But as social as she is, like her mom, we only want to socialize so much before heading back home. And if she didn't like you or if she sensed something about you, she would definitely do the healer warning snap, or she would get into her protective stance if she thought you were any type of threat to her mother. She loved to run in her younger years, especially in the snow. And she was extremely fast. She even took to running alongside of me on my bike with no training. When we decided to expand our crew, she was extremely happy when we brought home Kage. She finally got a running partner that could keep up with her because I sure couldn't, and she loved helping us raise him. Any critter that I brought home or any random dogs that would show up lost, she would always help me take care of them. That was definitely one of her jobs, was to help Mama with all the babies. And I swear she would roll her eyes at me on the ones that ended up staying. It was always the look of, Mom, please no, not another one. And she was absolutely amazing helping me with all her foster dogs. She was always very gracious in sharing her home with them, but I think that's because she knew she came first, and she still does to this day. She always knew she was top dog and my second in command, and she made sure the boys knew that, especially our Lucian, who was our foster fail. Not only would she put our boys in their place, but she would do that with other dogs at the dog park as well. She loved going to the dog park. She loved running there with her brothers, and if any fight would ever start, she would bolt and break it up, especially with these two German Shepherds that would go there frequently. Those two would always start something, and she would always jump in the middle and say something with her barks to them, and then pat them both with her paw and walk back to me so proud that she stopped the fight. She always wanted to make sure there was peace at the dog park. Now, as much as we exercise this girl, you may notice there are moments where Silver has been a very chunky monkey. We didn't know what was causing her to gain so much weight, and I've mentioned this before in a previous video, but we eventually found out that Silver had hypothyroidism. And And she's been on medication for that most of her life. And, you know, that's when I also started trying out different food options for her and trying to feed better quality foods and, you know, work on getting her back to being healthy. And over time, after feeding her better quality foods, her blood work came back that she actually didn't need such a high dosage of that medication anymore. So I truly believe that the food helped change that. And not only is she the reason I looked into better food options and like cooking for my dogs, she is also the reason I pursued a grooming career. Even though I already had experience in the pet industry, this girl would just not let me groom her. She very much fit the attitude of, "You're my mama, I will not let you do this to me." But after taking her to a groomer and seeing how they treated her, I was so pissed off that I decided to work with her at home and try some new things out with her, and it worked. So while I was working for a groomer as a bather, I started taking classes on grooming, and she went with me during those classes as well, and of course she was loved by everyone in class. And once I actually started my own grooming business, anytime dogs were drying in my shop, she would come in and lay in all the fluff in front of my table, and she was always so excited to say hello to the other dogs because, of course, you know, they were there to see her. They weren't there to get groomed. But it always made it very difficult to clean her coming in and just laying in all the fluff. Now, regarding Silver's eyes, because I know many people have questions about that, and it's been a huge health issue for her during her lifetime. So when she was around 7, she started having trouble walking around at night, and one of her eyes started developing a cataract. By the time she was 9, she had cataracts in both her eyes. And I still remember the day we woke up and she went into a complete panic, and we knew that she had lost her eyesight. It was a slow process, so we did everything to prep her with new voice commands and walking her around the house more often so she could remember the layout because we knew it was eventually going to happen. But she never had any problem navigating the house after that first day of shock. Even one of her walks when she was completely blind, my hubby started to take her back home because she was having a lot of issues with it. But then she stopped and refused to go any further with him, and she waited until I came back where they were with the boys. She just needed more time to readjust and, you know, get her bearings with walking this way. You know, we should have never underestimated her. Now, there is a slight chance she was still seeing some shadows with her cataracts, but most tests showed that not much light was getting through. And she eventually developed PRA, which is progressive retinal atrophy. Oh my gosh. But it basically attacks the cones and rods in your eyes, and it leads to blindness. It's basically it's just an eye disease, you know. But this development ruled out any chance of doing cataract surgery to try to help her see again. So for years she was on multiple eye drops, and we did multiple visits to the vet because we had to monitor her eyes, especially for glaucoma. And she was doing great, but when she was around 12, she finally did develop glaucoma. And our specialist tried one more medication, and that didn't work, so we had to decide to either say our goodbyes to her or to do eye removal surgery. So we checked her blood work, and it came back perfect, like she was a very young dog, and we moved forward with the surgery. Now, there was one thing I wanted to do before surgery. I wanted to take her camping. All the places I ever took her, I never took her camping, and I was so worried surgery wouldn't go well due to her age. I wanted to do it at least once with her. I also didn't think she would enjoy it. That's why I never took her camping before. I mean, she would sit with me if I had a fire going in the yard, but she was never much of an outdoorsy girl. Like, hiking was fine, but she never wanted to get in the creek or stay in the woods long. But I think that has a lot to do with how much she was kept outside when she was a puppy. But she did amazing. This blind, beautiful baby figured out the tent, where to sleep during the fires, everything, even checking for things in the woods. She did absolutely amazing, and I was so impressed at how well she did. And if I have any regrets, it's not taking her camping with me more. All the times I went with my friends, I should have taken her with me every one of those times. But her surgery went great. We did have a scare when we went to pick her up. Her blood pressure hit so high, it took them about a half hour to get her okay to be released. But the very next day, she was running up the stairs with blood coming out of her eyes, back to a fully energetic cattle dog, and it made me realize how much pain she was actually in from her eyes. I thought her lying around before was due to age, but it was really all due to her eyes causing that much pain. Silver has also been on TV twice, once for a news report showing how harnesses work in a grooming shop because another shop was under fire for mishandling and death of a dog. And the other time she was on television was during a fundraising festival for a local shelter where she walked in the little puppy parade that they had. And I was so impressed at how well she navigated through that festival with all the people and all the dogs completely blind. Well, I mean, she had no eyes. You know? She never let her blindness stop her from anything. She has always tolerated my BS when it comes to dressing her up for the holidays or just dressing her up for whatever reason. Her favorite snack is blueberries with yogurt, but she also really loves pumpkin and banana cookies, and she used to go really nuts for these cranberry cookies I used to get her from the store. She was a squeaker killer back in her day. She would always rip the eyes and mouth out of the toys first, and then she would pull out all the innards and then toss the squeaker out in victory, and she would look so proud of herself. And I even went out purposely finding the most squeaker-filled toys for her because I knew how much she loved to get those squeakers. Thankfully, she never did what Sully did and swallowed them. She would just toss them in pure delight that she had murdered this toy. She was an excellent bug catcher. We never seemed to have flies in our house with her around. And she even killed a wasp once that I had sprayed because it had stung me, but she was still determined to murder it because it hurt her mother. She always pulls blankets off the couch or curls up in them. It's one of her OCD traits. She just doesn't like blankets laying flat on the couch. She wants them all messed up. She always wanted to keep Daddy away from me, and she always slept in the middle of us. We always joke that she would be fine if that guy wasn't here. She would get so sad when I would go for a mini trip and have to leave her here with that guy, you know? Not sure if she ever realized how much I actually missed her when I went away. Heck, even when we went on our honeymoon, half the time I was talking about Silver. I even bought some cattle dog merchandise at a shop we found on our honeymoon. I was missing her that much. Oh, and how she hated Daddy around me after knee surgery. She was taking care of me, not him. She has always been my partner in crime and my second in command, always helping me keep this house in order and the neighborhood. And she knew exactly where our property lines end, but she still would claim the entire neighborhood as hers, helping watch over and control the crew and any other chaos that happens in this neighborhood is definitely another one of her jobs. My brother-in-law once jokingly said to her in a bad Australian accent, "Did that dingo get your baby?" And she would bark and get so upset and sometimes actually start looking for the baby, I think. She just always responded to that comment that way for about like 14 or 15 years until her hearing started to fade a bit. And to my friends in the land of Oz, we mean no disrespect on that. I know the story behind it. I'm just sharing Silver's reaction to the line because it was weird how she always responded to it in the same way. She was probably upset because we butchered the Australian accent, but we never understood why she reacted so intensely over that line. But this girl is the reason I am obsessed with cattle dogs. I didn't know a thing about this breed when I met her. I had never seen any cattle dog come into the kennel or the vet office I worked at. I had no idea anything about them, and it really was like the universe sending me the dog of my dreams. Like this breed was meant to be my dog. And I have great bonds with all my healers, but the one I have with her is special. And it might be because she's my first dog as an adult, but I think there's something more to it. I've never felt a connection to an animal as strong as I do with her. But this girl has changed my life in so many ways, and we've just been through so much together the last 17 years. And I know my time with her is very limited, and her last few years have been tough. She started having seizures at 14, which we have controlled with medication, and she started consuming too much water and having some peeing issues from time to time in the house. We know there's something neurological going on, but we can't pinpoint what it is. But she overdrinks water, and that's partially what causes some of the incontinence issues, but I don't care. She can pee on as many area rugs as she wants to. Like I've said earlier, this is my girl. I can replace those. I can't replace her. And she does have other old lady problems, especially with her back legs. They just don't work like they used to. She actually stopped coming upstairs about a year ago, and she definitely bumps around a lot more now. And even though it's really hard for her to get up, when she decides she needs a break from those retirement sleeps, she'll still make her way through the house to me if I am cleaning, watching TV, just to be near me. She'll still even sit next to me while I'm putting together furniture or any type of project. She's always had to sit next to me no matter what I'm doing around the house. She always has to be right there, you know, true healer, right? And she still tries to greet me at the door when she can, but that's becoming less and less these days. I try to involve her as much as I can on things, even though I don't always record her in the videos with the other ones, but I always try to include her. I check on her multiple times a day. I give her as many pets as I can and gentle hugs because she's just not a snuggler anymore. And I tell her I love her every day, and I am grateful every day that she's still here with me. And I'm very grateful that her medication is working for all her ailments. And I'm sure her extreme stubbornness to stay with me is helping keeping her going as well. This girl is my soulmate and the love of my life. And yes, my husband is fully aware of this. He accepts this and understands this. And I know she would do anything for me just like I would do anything for her. She has changed my life in so many ways and has brought so many wonderful moments and memories that I will cherish for the rest of my life. She is my everything and someone who has always pulled me out of the darkness. And I am extremely honored to have been her person, to have been her mama. And there's so much more I could probably say about this beautiful girl and so many more stories, because 17 years is a long time to have a wonderful relationship with a pup. And it's definitely been an adventure for sure. And now that I've gotten emotional at the end of this video, I'm not sure how to end it. But she has been very loved and my best friend and the best companion I could have ever asked for. But thank you guys for watching, and I'm going to end this video on probably one of my favorite clips of Silver, you know, telling that guy to leave Mama alone. He touched me. I know. It's terrible. Scared? Really? Are we okay? Yeah. All right. It's fine. He didn't hurt me. I promise. Mommy's fine. Yeah, I'm fine. My mama. I'm just asking to get bit.
Got issues, dog.
I know, it's upsetting. I know. You really got her worked up.
Touched you? Oh, God's forbid.
I know, I'm just your wife.